Scientifically speaking, we're sharing the view. From labs to clinics, breakthrough shining through, with minds that inspire and stories to unfold. Scientifically speaking, the future's being told.
Welcome to Scientifically Speaking with Christine on Oz Arab Media, where we explore inspiring stories, science and creativity. Today we have a special guest whose journey is one of resilience, transformation and passion. Imagine struggling with English in school, being told you were not clever enough for subjects you loved, and facing personal fears that seemed impossible to overcome. Now imagine turning all of that into a powerful, inspiring story that touches the hearts of readers. Our guest today is Danielle Corrie, a published author and writer from Sydney. Despite facing academic struggles, bullying, anxiety, and even a phobia of dogs, she overcame these challenges and went on to writing Teida's story, Life Through the Eyes of a Dog, a book inspired by her beloved dog. Danielle conducts author talks at schools and community events, encouraging children to pursue their dreams, and is involved in many media engagement. Today, we will be discussing the healing power of dogs in human well-being through her journey. Danielle, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Christine. Thank you for having me.
Of course, anytime. Danielle, let me start by asking you, you mentioned that Teida helped you overcome your fears of having a pet dog. How do dogs help people conquer phobias or past traumas?
Dogs help people overcome past traumas and fears by reading their energy. Amazing. So if somebody is fearful or anxious, the dogs pick up on that energy. Dog knows when somebody is calm, somebody is terrified, and they're very adaptable to the situation. Writing a dog memoir, you wouldn't think that I had a phobia of dogs.
Amazing, yeah.
But back in the day, I did.
Oh.
When I was 9, my sister and I were crossing a busy intersection at the end of our street, and our street's a quiet road. We were buying the local paper on a Sunday morning, and in the middle of the intersection, a white Alsatian actually came up and bit me on the middle of my thigh.
Ouch.
And by that time, I had a fear of medium to large-sized dogs.
Oh, wow. And how did that conquer phobias or traumas?
So I didn't like how, as a child, the dogs were the same size as me.
Right.
I was afraid of their bark. I didn't know at that time that they actually barked to protect their homes or to advise their owners of danger.
Yeah.
And so, but I knew if I had to have a dog one day, I had to overcome that fear. Many, many years later, I became a volunteer member of the State Emergency Service, which is the SES in short terms.
Yeah.
And what happened is I stayed over one night and the security alarm was turned off so I could just wander around the place. I heard somebody grab something and leave.
Oh.
And the next day I woke up and I was in my white lacy nightie. And I went to the bathroom to get ready for the day, and I heard this loud noise out the back. And I thought, oh my gosh, what the hell's going on outside?
I know, yeah.
So I went out to investigate. Still not changed into anything else, still in my white nightwear. The back door slammed on me, and I was stuck in between these steel gates with all these vehicles outside in the back.
Wow.
And the next door neighbour had these German Shepherds, and these German Shepherds were guard dogs. Literally, if you walked in their place, I'd bail you up and attack you.
Oh, wow.
And I'm thinking, what the hell do I do? So I grabbed a crate and I pulled it near the fence. And I yelled out, Charlie, Charlie. I saw a light on, and that's their neighbour, Charlie. So I yelled out, Charlie, Charlie. There was no answer. These dogs were at the fence. And I'm thinking, great. So I took a breath. I composed myself. I stayed calm, stayed in the moment. Yeah. And then I jumped the fence. These dogs didn't attack me. They just stood there. And the owner was totally amazed that these dogs didn't bail me up like they bailed everyone else's up. So these dogs actually picked up that I was calm, and that's how I overcame my fear.
Oh, that's amazing.
Then many years later, my house was broken into.
Oh.
And when my house was broken into, the police said that I get a dog. And I'm thinking, I work full time.
Yeah.
I leave just after sunrise.
And I'm scared of
I
dogs,
come
actually.
home after sunset. How do I didn't think it was fair to have a dog in my yard.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a car either. So I thought, how do I take this dog to the vet? So I contacted a friend of mine and said, bring the dog over. You don't have to take the dog. You can just suss it out and see if you like the dog. The dog walked around my yard, immediately went to the bed bucket of water I had on the back deck, took a drink, wandered around, smelled all these different smells. The owner drove away, and that dog was Teida.
Oh, wow. That's an awesome story.
So Teida and I just fitted in like a glove.
Oh, that's amazing. If you don't mind me asking, do you think Teida actually felt your fear or your anxiety and she tried to calm you down?
She possibly could.
Mm.
I was oblivious to that because I was focusing on her wandering around my yard and thinking, gee, don't dig the yard up, don't do this, don't do that. As soon as the owner left and Teida settled in, she just knew not to sit on the lounge. She just knew not to jump on the bed. She knew not to do anything that, I didn't have to tell her. And it was a thing of trust. She trusted me and I trusted her. And in the end, she wasn't just a pet. She became my confidant. She became my mentor and my best friend. So, because I initially thought, look, why is this only giving this dog away? Is this dog aggressive? Is it ferocious? Is it going to hit me?
Yeah, you think all the other
these
thoughts.
things, you know?
Yeah.
But Teida proved me wrong. And I feel that I know many of your listeners out there may have a fear of dogs.
Yeah.
They may have a fear of animals and pets.
Yeah.
And as soon as a dog comes by and nudges them, they'll say, go away, putting their hands up. And that becomes anxious, and the dog wants to jump because it's excited and wants to play.
Yes.
But if you stay calm and take a breath, the dog will walk away. And I know that try not to let fear get into something that you utmost desire. And if I can welcome Teida into my life after having a fear of dogs, then I'm sure your listeners
Everyone
can do the same.
can, yeah. If you don't mind me asking a question, Danielle, for people struggling with loneliness, especially elderly or those who have no one, they're just living alone, how having a dog can improve their quality of life through your experience?
Christine, I'm someone who lives alone. I live by myself. And having Teida brought me companionship, brought me love, and brought me someone to lean on through rough and traumatic times.
Oh, wow.
When I was made redundant at work, my parents divorced, and when some deceased loved ones passed away. During those moments, I was able to lean on Teida. I actually cried into her fur. I held her close, not wanting to let go. And I looked into her eyes, venting my frustration, my anger, and my despair of what was happening. And there was Teida, not judging me, not flinching or wavering. Her smiley face and wagging tail told me everything would be okay. And of course she was right. So someone out there struggling with loneliness, having a four-legged friend like a dog, and by the way, a dog spelt backwards is God, G-O-D.
Oh, okay.
Just to let you know, it gives you a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
Motivation and a reason to get up in the morning. A reason to keep going, smell the air outside, go out into the warm sunshine as you take your dog for a walk. In addition to companionship, dogs are very intuitive. Even though a dog isn't a human that you can call up on the phone and say, look,
hello, I need you.
I need you to come over for a coffee.
Yeah.
They give you that presence of comfort and are there through thick and thin. They fill a void where sometimes humans cannot. For the elderly, particularly the seniors who find it hard to bend down, they can have a small to medium-sized dog and sit it on the lounge next to them or even on their lap. So it's like a substitute blanket. A lot of them put a blanket over their knees and the dog can sit over their knees and keep them nice and warm. And the other thing with a dog is that they offer you a sense of security, being by yourself. So if your unexpected person rings that doorbell, that dog will bark and let you know someone's at the door.
That's amazing.
Dogs never judge. They don't worry that you've had a bad day. So you could get up on the wrong side of the bed and you can not, be in your pajamas, have your hair all scruffy, not put makeup on. Dogs don't care. They don't mind.
That's true.
They just stay by your side and support you like Teida did for me.
Aww.
When I felt uncertain, overwhelmed and anxious or even worried, there was Teida. She looked into her eyes and said, look, don't worry, Mum, I'm here. Let's play ball. And so I'd play a game or two of ball, and whatever was weighing down on my shoulders suddenly lifted, and life became light again, and I could get on with my day.
That is amazing. If you don't mind me, just a maybe little between brackets, if I can take that back scientifically and say dogs can actually lower blood pressure and reduce cortisol levels, which we call it the stress hormone. And they also are part of the love hormone, where they can release oxytocin, what we call it. If you can tell me or share a personal or someone else's story, inspiring story about how dog can help someone emotionally and physically, if you don't mind.
Sure. I'd like to do that.
Yeah.
My mum passed away in 2015.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
That's okay, thank you. It was 2 days after my birthday.
Oh.
And I wasn't just grieving for the loss of my mum. I was hobbling around in a moon boot after a foot injury. Oh. Around that time, the ABC was also filming a documentary where they were interviewing me about psychic mediums and whether they were real and whether they helped through grief and loss.
Mm.
And I had this situation, if God decided it was my time, then life beyond this world, I was okay with that. Life beyond here, to me, was a lot more tranquil and peaceful than living here on earth. I knew it wasn't my time, but I was just saying that that was how I felt. And I had family and I had friends to support me, but there was one thing also that kept me here was my dog, Teida.
Yeah.
Teida was there sitting beside me, watching me with those big brown eyes, saying, look, I understand, I'm here, you're not alone. She never left my side. And when I was lost in my thoughts, she nudged me. When sadness felt unbearable, she pushed her torso onto mine. Aww. So we actually had our heartbeats beat together as one. Teida was nearing 17 years of age. Oh. Her muzzle was grey and she had arthritis in her legs, so her mobility had decreased. She was walking very slow, but her spirit was strong. And I kept saying, look, Teida, I'm here, I'm not going anywhere. And saying that reminded me to keep going. Teida wasn't just my healer, she was George's too. Now, George, those who are familiar with George, he's a character in my book, Teida Story. He's actually a real person.
But his name is not George.
It's
just for the story.
It's in the book.
Yes.
In my book, Teida Story, the names are fictitious.
Yes.
But you do realise who the people are in real life. So they're actually real people.
Okay.
It's just the names are not real.
That's true.
So George is a man with a wife and children and grandchildren. And yet he had his connection with Teida. Just like me, his connection with Teida was something special. He became part of his world and she became part of his. George was diabetic. And Teida could tell with her incredible intuition whether knew something was wrong. So she'd go and nudge George, and eventually George would check his sugar level and realised he needs something to eat.
Oh, wow.
She also sensed George had migraines. They were called abdominal migraines.
Okay.
And he had migraines. And Teida could sense something wasn't right with him there as well. And she'd nudge him. A dog would actually nudge you when there's something not right, as well as wanting to play with you. And he was sitting on the back deck, drinking his cup of coffee, having a biscuit in his own world, and Ted would come up with a ball and drop it at his feet.
Oh, wow.
And I'd sort of say, look, not now. And she'd say, but she'd bark to say, look, play ball, play ball.
Yeah.
She knew, she had the solutions to everything. So they played. He got the ball. He actually threw it onto the lawn. She'd retrieve it and come back and drop it at his feet. George's energy became lighter. And then he had decided he would get the ball and grab it in his hand and hide it behind his back. And Teida would look at him to say, I know where the ball is. You can't fool me.
That's interesting. Very interesting.
So they teased and played and bantered, and she barked in delight, and you could see George would eventually laugh, throwing the ball.
Yeah.
So whatever burden he carried had lightened. So for me, George also had medical ailments, and he was admitted to hospital.
Okay.
Teida knew George was away for a few weeks, and where George used to sit, Teida sat in front of that lounge right there, and she wouldn't sit anywhere else until he came back. George, and the other thing too is that George was also there for Teida. Teida was epileptic.
Oh.
So she wasn't just an ordinary dog, she was an epileptic dog.
Oh, wow.
And we didn't know what her seizures would be like, but George was there when she had her first seizure. I was at work, and he was there for her first seizure. He stood there by her side, and when we took her to the vet, George was the one that lent us the car so we could take her to the vet. And the last time they saw each other, Teida knew it was the last time she'd see George ever again. She actually stopped and walked in her tracks as slow as he was walking, and a week later he passed away. And so now both of them in heaven, both not just inspired by me but by each other. So to me, I find it incredible how dogs bring people together, creating bonds that go beyond words. Teida wasn't just my healer, she was George's too, and she was anybody else that walked in that house that needed healing. And their souls are now connected by trust, love, and an unspoken understanding. So that's what makes dogs special. They walk beside us, they become part of our life, they see our pain before we speak it, they comfort us without being asked, and they remind us of the simplest and purest ways that we are never alone.
That is lovely and amazing and inspiring beyond words, to be honest, Danielle. Thank you so much for sharing these insights. So today you are proving to us with these stories that dogs are very helpful emotionally and physically. They are working with us within our scientific insights, right? For our hormones, for our mental health. And as well services physically, like Teida helped George. So can you say that dogs really can be a service dog, an emotional support dog, and a therapy dog, right?
They can.
How do their roles impact human health in different ways, these different types? So how can, or what does a service dog do, or an emotional dog do, or a therapy dog do? If you can tell us a little bit about that.
Well, some of it, of course, I just explained now with George.
Yeah.
I'll give you another scenario. I had a friend of mine who actually was making a phone call, and he went to the laundry to finish off his phone call because it was private. Now, Teida's water bowl was actually in that laundry. She did not move to get her drink. She wanted a drink of water. She did not move till my friend finished that phone call.
Oh, wow.
And then waited. I mean, if it was human, you'd say she was eavesdropping.
I mean, lovely courtesy, right? I mean,
you know, one would say eavesdropping, but she didn't. She sat there and waited till he finished the phone call, which would be like 15, 20 minutes.
Well, that's
then went to get her water. And it's like, if in no uncertain terms, she'd probably tell him what to do.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
But dogs pick up on people. So a guide dog is there for someone who's visually impaired in today's world.
Yes.
So they are like, you know, don't cross the road here. They hear a car, they push their owner back.
So they're their eyes.
They're their eyes, predominantly. I actually did community care work for somebody who had a guide dog. And they were inside and outside dog. And you could see the lady managing with their dog.
Oh, that's
But the dogs have a life limit. So once once it becomes senior, that lady would get another dog. And that
dogs retire. Yeah.
The dogs do retire, and they will either become their dog, so they'll have two dogs, or they might have someone else's as a senior dog. So it just depends on the owner and where they are at with that dog. Behavioural dog is to do with usually mental stimulation and someone's behaviour. Could be an epilepsy is usually is either therapy or behaviour, depending on how you cope with it. But therapy is to do with somebody's movements and therapy. So there's three differences there. So therapy is somebody that may need someone for companionship, an elderly person.
So just walk the dog or play the ball with them or something like that?
Well, they might have a brain injury, for example, and they need someone for companionship. So if they have a seizure or if they have something there, the dog can actually stop them fainting or stop them in that seizure. They know to open the fridge, grab something like a water, and the owner will drink it, and they'll might minimise their seizures,
Yeah.
things like that. They obviously can't use a phone to call an ambulance.
Of course.
However, if they
know
bark
what
enough,
to do
they know
in
what to
the
do.
emergency
They know what to
times,
do in
yeah.
emergency lines, exactly.
Amazing.
And behaviours to do with people's behaviours, and it's mental health as well, so it's not just physical being.
We are covering a lot of topics, Danielle. That's amazing. I mean, a dog can be there for our hormones, for our mental health, for our physical health, therapy, service. What else can you want when you have an amazing dog like that? If you don't mind me going to the next question, some workplaces and universities now allow therapy dogs that we were talking about on site, mainly to help with stress. Which other places you think should adopt a dog-friendly or a pet-friendly environment?
I believe that any place that has a therapy dog or is wanting to have a therapy dog, there must be clear procedures in place first
Right,
to ensure the dog's safety and well-being.
right,
Dogs need to be treated with integrity, honour and respect.
of course.
So, for example, they need to be known how to handle correctly on leashes. They need to know what foods are inappropriate to feed dogs. For example, chocolate. We love chocolate. Dogs cannot eat chocolate.
Yeah.
They cannot eat onions. They cannot eat garlic. So they need to be a process. Also, who cares for the dog?
Right.
Who cleans up after them? If a dog needs to go to the vet because it became injured or it became sick, who does that? Who pays for the cost of the vet? And the other thing is, say, for example, you're a business, you shut down for the weekend, you shut down for Christmas, who's going to take care of the dog in the meantime?
Right.
So the dog can't do things by itself.
Yes.
So these procedures, it's our responsibility to make sure that these procedures are in place before any dog is considered in a therapy type environment.
Right.
Now, beyond workplaces and universities, I believe there are many places that could benefit from therapy dogs.
Yes.
Hospitals, libraries, before and after school care, daycare
Oh,
centres,
great ideas.
aged care facilities, rehab centres, even places of worship
Wow.
could benefit from therapy dogs. Imagine walking into a hospital and you have no family, no friends, no visitors, and you are lonely, and suddenly a therapy dog walks in.
That would make
That-
my day.
Exactly. The patient becomes more responsive, more enthusiastic, as we were talking before about
True.
they may not show obvious signs, but inside they are healing. They might feel warm and fuzzy inside. And some patients may even reach out to pat their fur. This simple act of touch can bring a sense of calm, purpose and joy. When my friend Gary was in palliative care, I saw him for the last time, but he said to me, I saw him, I went to visit him, and then he said to me, bring Teida on the weekend. Now this was during the week, and he said, bring Teida on the weekend. And I looked at him and thought, you sure? He goes, I want to see Teida on the weekend.
Wow. That's very interesting. Yeah.
He passed away, so that didn't happen.
Yeah. Of course.
However, that's the type of bond.
Interaction, yeah.
Interaction, exactly. So when people are grieving, they are offered counselling services. Yet sometimes the silent presence of a dog can be more comforting because dogs don't question. They offer companionship without judgment. They just purely understand and offer unconditional love. And they remind you that you're not alone in your pain and suffering. The movie A Dog's Way Home, I don't know if you've seen that movie, but that was introduced to the centre. A dog, Bella, was introduced to the centre as a therapy dog for the war veterans there. And they were suffering PTSD. And due to unforeseen circumstances, the dog had to leave that area of America, leave their home. And the owner drove them down to another place far, far, far away. And that dog crossed incredible distances, confronted many challenges, and found its way back to that hospital.
Wow.
And when she returned, it was those veterans that discovered her. And they were so elated in seeing Bella again. And that dog meant so much to them that when the ranger wanted to come and take the dog in, they managed to overturn the law.
That's lovely.
So I believe schools now are beginning to embrace dogs.
Yeah.
And I wish they were there when you and I were at school.
Yeah, I know,
because
right?
I
I
was
wish
bullied.
now with the kids as well. It would be great.
You know, that I was bullied. I suffered anxiety. I was ridiculed. I had, Lebanese bread and Vegemite for lunch, and kids made fun of me.
Yeah.
And I'm of Lebanese heritage for those who are unaware. So having a dog in those moments could have provided the comfort and support for me when teachers were unable to.
Yeah.
So instead of turning to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, people may find healing in a dog.
Yeah.
They lean into their fur, vent their emotions, look into their eyes, and like my dog Teida, dogs are intuitive. So they don't just hear us, they understand us in a words can't express.
That is mainly taking me to my next question, Danielle. You're reading my mind. For someone who is hesitant about getting a dog, I think these are mainly the advice you would like to give them on how to start experiencing emotional benefits, right? Especially with the canine companionship, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
So, Christine, the advice I would give somebody is firstly, anyone thinking about getting a dog for emotional support is to consider the emotional support of a canine companion is not just about what the dog can give you, but it's also what you can give the dog.
Right.
It's the bond you build together, a relationship of love, trust and healing.
Amazing.
For me personally, I knew dogs bonded with people and their owners. I didn't realise how deep the bond could be.
Yeah.
I live alone, and while I have families and friends, they have their own busy lives. So there are moments where I want to share something excited, something happy with somebody, but I have to wait until they're free before I share it with someone.
Yeah.
Sometimes days felt slow and drawn out. And even though I kept myself occupied, something was missing, something that filled my heart with joy. Then Teida arrived. When Teida came into my life, I felt I received the ultimate gift from God and the divine. And that's my soulmate. Teida understood me and I understood her. Dogs have the incredible ability to sense emotions without words. When days I felt overwhelmed, lost and not sure what to do, she rested her head on me and said, "Look, Mum, don't be sad, I understand." And it was those moments I realised that dogs just don't provide comfort, they teach us how to be present. So unlike humans, dogs don't worry about the future, they don't worry about the past, they live in the now.
They don't judge. They don't give you
So
any...
when you're going through something heavy, grief, stress, or just the weight of the world, you learn to breathe, you learn to focus in this moment and just feel the present.
Amazing.
And owning a dog for emotional support isn't just about what they can give, it's about what you can give to them. So choosing the right dog is important. So if you're after a dog who needs comfort, reassurance, and a gentle, affectionate dog would be one suitable for you. However, if you're after someone who's into motivation and routine, then perhaps an active dog that gets you outside would be more suitable.
That's true.
So if suddenly a dog comes into your life that you don't expect, then perhaps it's to make your world open and open your world up.
There's a reason for that.
Exactly. You are just important and loving as the person next to you.
Lovely.
So dogs mirror emotions. They pick up our energy, not just our words. If we're anxious, they're anxious. If we're calm, they are calm. Teida taught me to let go of unnecessary worries, focus on what I can control and let the universe control the rest. So when George passed away, I was grieving, but Teida was grieving too. And the only person that could fix that grief was me, because I knew what she was grieving about.
So you were helping each other, actually.
Exactly. She was licking her paw. She licked her leg so much it created a wound. Like people biting their nails, it's all nervousness. She got into a habit. And so I put a bucket over her head so she could stop licking. We played ball. We did things light. We had fun. When I'd throw the ball, she'd leap into the air to catch it. We'd roll the ball along the lawn and she'd be like a goal defender trying to defend the ball. So I couldn't get past her. And we'd create these new games even inside. Our home became lighter and bright and happy, and Teida was fine again.
Amazing.
So if you're considering a dog for emotional support, ask yourself, are you ready to give as much love as you will receive? Are you opening to learn from them just as much as they will learn from you? And most importantly, will you be their leader, someone calm, confident and respectful of who they are. And once you're ready, go on that adventure, go and find that dog that makes you smile.
That is lovely. Danielle, but not all the people can own a dog, right?
That's
For
true.
many circumstances in their lives. But are there any ways people can still benefit from the presence of the dogs? Maybe volunteering or spending, what do we call it, dog sitting, or what
Of course.
advice can they do?
Oh, there's many ways,
Yeah.
Christine. There
Yeah.
are many ways possible people can
Right.
benefit from dogs. Since Teida's passing
Yeah.
in 2015,
Oh.
I haven't had a dog since. And I'd love to have a dog. I thought I'd work on a dog by now. But I haven't had a dog. God had other plans. The universe had other plans, so I wasn't able to get a dog. I have been sorting out estate matters for the loss of dear loved ones. I also basically had a serious injury. As a result of a serious injury, I had a hip replacement. So my mobility is not the same as it was with Teida. So as much as I'm more capable of having a dog, I need to consider the type of dog that would suit me now compared to
Yeah.
when I had Teida.
Right.
And having a dog to me, because I'm unable to right now walk as fast as what a dog would like, and if a dog escaped out of my backyard, I couldn't
can't
run
run after them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's things like that. So I need to be fully present and make sure that I am able to give them the care and attention that they need before
Right.
I have a dog. So right now, even though I haven't a dog of my own, dogs have never left my life. I go and visit a neighbour. They've got a golden retriever. And this golden retriever...
It's quite a
wags
big
their
one
tail.
for you, eh?
Oh, it's biggish.
Yeah.
Not as big as a Great Dane, but in the
Okay.
middle, Labrador, golden retriever, similar heights.
Yeah.
And this golden retriever wag its tail, and one thing golden retrievers do is go and retrieve. So they'll go and retrieve a little sock or something and want to give
Yeah.
it to their family.
Yeah.
Well, I come to the door, it does the same to me. So it'll grab a sock and try and give it to me
That's so
as a
cute.
gift.
Yeah.
And when it settles on in its certain place, it's got a certain chair in the home. Once it settles there, I give it a pat, and then it gives me its paw. It just say, "Look, I've missed you. Where have you been?"
Aw.
You know. So
Yeah.
his unwavering energy and playful energy reminds me of what Teida did. Now, dogs find their way to you whether you expect it or
Yeah,
not, in
that's true.
different ways. So it could be a family's dog curling up on the lounge while you're visiting somebody, or a puppy wagging its tail as you walk by the street.
Yeah.
So they don't own you don't own those dogs.
No.
Other ways are, as I mentioned, visit family and friends.
Yeah.
There's something special when you play fetch with a dog or take them for a walk or being beside them.
Yeah.
Volunteer at an animal shelter is another way. Places like PAWS, the Australian Welfare League, RSPCA, they are always after volunteers. And you could be patting the dog, feeding the dog, cleaning up after them. It doesn't matter what you do, but just be present could brighten that dog's day.
Oh, wow.
Fostering a dog as well is another way.
Yeah.
And that means because a dog may have surgery, it can't go back to that place, whether it's the RPCA or those places there. They can't go back there. They need somewhere to have respite and recover from their surgery. The other thing is some dogs are no good in cages. They need a place to actually grow and develop. They can develop behavioural issues. So by fostering a dog gives them stability and love where they need it most, and quite often the medical costs and food costs are paid for by the
When you're
organisation.
fostering, that's true.
And when we're talking about therapy dogs and guide dogs,
Yes.
perhaps you can help in that way as well.
That way, yeah.
Because the dogs are young, they are pups, and they need a home to go to develop their skills. So being part of that journey doesn't just connect you to a dog, but changes somebody's life forever. Pet sit for family, friends or neighbours is another way.
Yeah.
So the simplest moments of feeding, taking a dog for a walk,
Yeah.
being with them can be incredibly fulfilling. I know one day when the time is right, I will get another dog. And when that time is right, Teida will guide me to that dog from heaven, making it the perfect companion. So till then, I'll cherish every tail wag, every bark, every paw that reminds me of a love that dogs can
That's
give.
lovely. Before we close, Danielle, I have one question for you to give to our listeners today. As someone who overcame a fear of petting dogs and formed a deep bond with Teida, what is the biggest lesson she taught you about healing, love, and trust?
Christine, I never realised how deep I could connect with a dog until
Right.
Teida came into my life.
Yeah.
Growing up, I had pets. We had pets from ducks to goats to peach-faced parrots that I tamed. And we also had dogs. Yet I was also hesitant and unsure of dogs. It's like, will they like me? What do they do if they don't like me? You could see them,
Yeah.
things like that. So Teida came along.
Mm.
And Teida was a tiny puppy. She wasn't a tiny puppy when she came. She was 6 years old.
Mm.
So she had set in her own ways, and she had history, like I've got history.
Yeah.
So I didn't know her from a bar of soap when she came into my house, and she didn't know me either.
Yeah.
But walking through that door with an openness that I wasn't expecting. She went to the red bucket on the back deck and helped herself to the water.
Mm.
She smelled all these different smells in my backyard. She observed me as much as I was observing her. And instead of us both feeling fear, we both felt trust.
That's lovely.
And that's the first thing Teida taught me. She trusted me without hesitation. In her eyes, I was that person. And as I looked at her, it went both ways. I mean, if dogs who has no reason to believe me, no guarantee that I would care for her properly, would trust me, then I can surely do the same.
That's true.
So Teida also taught me to trust me, to believe I was enough,
Yeah.
that I was worthy of love, companionship, just as I am. And trust is a fragile thing, Christine,
It is.
for humans. We tend to overthink it. We complicate it. We hesitate to give trust to anybody. Yet dogs trust and love with their whole hearts. They don't hold back. And just as Teida showed me that when you truly let go and open yourself to trust and to love, the most incredible, beautiful forms can form.
Lovely.
Then there's healing.
Yes.
People often say that dogs choose us, and I believe that to be true. Because looking back, I just didn't rescue a dog. I rescued an epileptic dog called Teida, and she rescued me too. Since Teida's been in my life, I have gone through some very rough and traumatic times.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, my parents' divorce. I was made redundant at work after 10 years of
Yeah.
being employed with the same employer.
Yeah.
And deceased loved ones passed away, including George. There was moments where I questioned everything, where the weight of the world rested totally on my shoulders, and I wasn't sure how to move forward. And then Teida was there. She was there with her love, with her presence and quiet understanding. And when I sat on the floor with total emotion and not sure what to do, she was there, and her eyes were full of knowing. She didn't ask what was wrong. She just knew. And the incredible thing is that dogs go beyond what we can see. They feel it all. They are not one to ask for explanations or reasons. Dogs just give. And as I said before, dog spelt backwards is God.
Yeah.
And dogs are a reflection of divine love, because like God, dogs love us unconditionally.
Aw.
They don't judge our past, our mistakes or weaknesses. I could yell at Teida a minute ago, but she didn't care. She just goes on with her day, and there's no
What a
grudges
pure
like humans
creature.
does.
Yeah.
They love us as we are in every moment. And Teida taught me that healing just doesn't become in the form of grand gestures. Sometimes healing comes in the form of quiet moments, a steady heartbeat beside you, a wagging tail when you walk through that door, reminds you that you matter. And finally, she taught me about love, the kind that is puring, unwavering, and eternal. Teida wasn't just my pet. She was my companion, my soulmate, my teacher, and my healer.
Lovely.
She showed me that love is not just about presence, but connection. Truly seeing someone not just by their actions, but through their heart. She knew me in ways that no one else knew me. She knew when I needed comfort, when I needed space, and when I needed a simple nudge of reassurance. And even now, after she has gone, I know Teida's watching me from heaven, guiding me like she's always done. Now, I know one day I'll get a dog. Teida will bring that dog to me, guiding me. But until I carry her lessons with me, I am further changed. And now I'm a published author with a tell-all book, Teida's Story,
lovely.
Life Through the Eyes of a Dog.
That's amazing. Do you mind me asking if this is the real picture of Teida?
That's not the real picture of Teida because it's been published.
Okay, I'll put it right in front of my screen.
And I'll tell you why.
Does it look at least something like Teida?
Teida's on the inside of the back cover of that book.
Oh, okay. We don't want to take the surprise out of that. But you've spoken so much about Teida that I really wanted to know how she looked like, because it's such an inspiring story and lessons.
But the
That's
publisher
amazing.
won't allow you to put your dog on the front cover.
Right.
And the reason is because when you have a dog yourself,
Yeah.
you cannot imagine it as your dog if it's my dog on that front cover.
Oh,
So they
so
put a
trying to
genetic-
relate to the reader.
So they put a generic dog that's kind of similar
Yeah.
to your dog, and then they'll put your dog inside the book.
Oh, that's amazing. Danielle, your journey from petting phobia to a powerful relationship with Teida is truly inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing your story today, your wisdom, your passion. We really enjoyed it, and I'm sure our readers did too.
Thank you so much, Christine.
of
Thank you
course.
for having me on Scientifically Speaking.
Of course, my pleasure. And to our listeners, I'll say that is it for today on Scientifically Speaking with Christine on Oz Arab Media. Until next time. But until then, stay inspired and keep chasing your dreams.